Hi, welcome to the review of round 5. Now I see here that about 80% of the class is over 2,000 points for the simulation. Most teams only have, and a few teams are way over the 2,500 points. We have, we'll count this one, anything over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 teams already qualify for the full points for the simulation. They just have to make sure they don't lose any points in the last round. And most of the rest of the class, about 90% of the class, is above 2,000 points. So they don't have to make anywhere from 40 to 440 points, which is relatively easy task to do in that last round. And remember that we have the last round due next week on the 30th, and that even if you don't get over the 2,500 points, getting over 2,400 points, you still earn 14 points for the project. And if you get over 2,300 points, you still earn 13 points. So, that's still very good level grades for this assignment. So most teams, even if you don't get the full points, you might get 1 point or 2 points off the assignment, still doing very well in the assignment. So I'm very happy how the teams have done, and the teams I've talked to that are doing very well, they said that the videos I recorded each round helped them out a great deal, especially in the beginning where I showed them step-by-step data entry points on the simulation, and they're getting the concept of how when a product is designed, the marketing team needs to know what they're selling, and the production team needs to know the forecast to see how many cars to make, and finance needs to know how much money to raise or how much money is available to spend on assets and improving the company and operational investment. So all in all, a very similar experience to being involved in a management team that runs a company. So let's look at the industry charts here for round 5 to get a feel how players did. And you see here that we started out with about between $40 and $60 million of net profits. And now we have teams. We have a team here, AutoZip, 231 million net profits, and a number of teams. We have a number of teams close or over 200 million in net profits, which is fantastic. And that's what companies want. That's what they want to see. If your stock price is going to go up, if you're going to please your shareholders who are the owners of the company, you have to increase those net profits per team. Now, points per team, we had only one team lose a lot of points. So this team is losing a lot of points. I'm not exactly sure why, but the way to turn this around is to increase your profits, your profit margins on your gross, operational, and net, increase your revenues. And I've shown many times how to do that. You've got to raise prices, lower costs, and also manage your assets where, your capacity utilization is a high percentage. All these things that we talk about in business. And if we look at points, we have Zurg here. Did very well, 622 points. But by and large, most everybody is at that 400 point or near that 400 point level that we're trying to average every round. So as we saw in the previous board, most teams are doing very well in their total points. If we look at stock price again, as AutoZip is high on stock price, followed by a new number 2, I'll just say Puns, One Motors, Harrison Motors, and Squeaky Clean Cars, all doing well. We had a big shoot up with Wan Cars going into 5th place. So the majority of the class is here, somewhere between $97 and $116. And we have a couple of teams down here struggling with stock price, and that mostly has to do with how your disappointing investors compared to your competitors. So your competitors have higher profit margin, higher sales than you do. That's going to affect your stock price. Now, sales, we have Chariot still number 1 in sales, but being number 1 in sales doesn't mean anything unless they translate to profits. If I were to give you a choice, I'm going to give you a company. The only thing you can know about the company is Company A has $5 billion in sales, and Company B has $5 500 million in sales. Which company would you rather own? So you'll probably say company A with 500 billion in sales. Now, if I told you, okay, one other piece of information, company B with 500 million in sales has 300 million in profits, and company A with 500 billion in sales has $1 trillion in losses. Now, which company would you rather own? So you see, it's not all about who has the most sales, it's about who has the most profits. A nice continuing turnaround here for Too Fast, Too Furious, coming back from a low performance in round 3, continuing to do well. A nice pickup here in sales for late 7, and so you can see by and large everybody increased their sales, which is what happens when the market grows at double digits per round. So if we look here at earnings per share, AutoZip continues to push their earnings up, and we have some of the same companies here in the top stock price at the top earnings per share, which makes sense. We've some teams here. This is, I'm trying to see who is. Okay, so this team actually lost earnings per share, which is really hard to do when sales are going up double digits. They have to really, so teams that lost earnings per share, this is why points have not so well. Because if you're losing, your earnings per share are going down, your profit margins are probably going down. Okay. So again, if we look at the total points, we got one team with 600 points, most teams in the 400-point range. Now, some of the top teams have gross profit margins in the 60 percentile. So we have 7 teams in the 60 percentile. Most of the class are in the 50 percentile. So for round 6, you should shoot for 60% or higher gross profit margins. Some teams will get can get up to 80% on the last round. So the other thing is, and you want to make sure that you bring up your total points. For operational profit margins, you want to make sure that you're not overspending in marketing. That helps that the most. Earnings per share, you may want to buy back some stock. That could help your earnings per share if you have some extra cash. And return on assets, total asset turnover may be a little bit more effective this last round, as you may have already fully purchased all your operational investments, and you maybe, you won't have to bring up spend as much on assets. And of course, the net profit margin, if you start to pay down some of your debt, you could lower your interest rates, and that will help your net profit margin. And so by the point we're getting into the last round, you should have a much better feel for how the simulation is running. And you should look at your competitors to see what they're doing. So if you go into the industry, not just the industry charts, but if you go into the industry, we were just in the industry charts. If you go into the marketing charts, you can get an idea of what other teams are spending on marketing. And of course, if you go into your game, you'll have an idea of assessment as well as an industry page to show you what all the other companies are doing as far as their points, their positions last round. So the more research you do, the better you can do in that last round. Because what you want to do, by and large, in that last round is get the points you need to finish the project strong. But hopefully you come away from this project with a better understanding of how companies integrate the topics you learn in business school: accounting, finance, marketing, operations, sales. And you kind of tie all these things together so you see how a company works together, each department pulling their own weight to project the company forward. So everything has to work sort of in unison. Okay, so for those of you, I wish everyone the best performance possible on that last round. And if you need a little bit of extra help doing well in the simulation, check out the prior videos in this series that are attached to this announcement. Read the student manual, play some more practice games. These can all help fine-tune your performance for the last round. Thanks. Take care.